Ohio State is ready to play for a turtle, and it's about to deal with a new hurdle. Welcome to Pregame Keys. He's Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. We are in Champaign, Illinois at Memorial Stadium. Number 1 Buckeyes against number 17 Illinois, and you have to start with the availability report because it is a little bit of a curveball for Ohio State. Starting nickel Lorenzo Styles Jr. will not play. Edric Houston will not play. A couple key pieces going to be missing for the Buckeyes against Illinois, which, considering Illinois' strength is its passing attack, and specifically with a weapon like Hank Beatty, missing Lorenzo Styles is a pretty big deal today.
It puts the onus on someone. We're going to try to find out who. The question is whether or not Ohio State is going to do what they did against the University of Ohio, or Ohio University, I should say, when Lorenzo Styles got hurt in that game. They just moved Jermaine Matthews into the slot and let Devin Sanchez play full-time on the outside. So that's one option. There's the other option of giving Bryce West a chance to play in that spot and use that athleticism, that short area quickness against a guy like Beatty, or to try to counter a guy like Beatty. And then there's the other piece, the Edric Houston piece, who played maybe the best first half of his career at Ohio State a week ago against Minnesota. He went off the field in the fourth quarter. Looked like he was limping a little bit heading up to the locker room with like 2 minutes left in the game. Didn't look ultimately that serious, but here we are a week later. He is not playing. Ohio State for the first time this year is going to be without starters in a game. We'll see how they react. The whole season, everything that you've done for the first 5 games has been built to find versatility, to be able to show multiple looks, to be able to move people around. And now you're sort of up against it against a pretty darn good Illinois team.
Yeah, and it's a reminder of something that Ryan Day talks about all the time, and more specifically when he was bringing up the conversation about potential red shirts for C.J. Hicks or Malik Hartford. This is a long season, and there are still 7 weeks to go in the regular season before you could get to the free-for-all that is the postseason and anyone being able to play. You're going to deal with injuries. So Ohio State has one on the defensive line. They have one in the secondary. They are expecting to have Kenyatta Jackson available. He is not listed. He's not even questionable today. So he left that game. He's left 2 games, really, but left the win against Minnesota early last week. We saw him leaving the practice field on Wednesday night. Looked like he had been in pads, looked like he had practiced. So at least you have that sort of clean bill of health for Ohio State up front, because you're going to have to be able to pressure this Illinois passing attack.
Well, that's the one area of weakness that we've really seen out of the Illinois offense so far, is the inability to protect Luke Altmaier. You have to ask yourself, does this mean Ohio State does a little bit more of the Rushman look, where they move Caden Curry inside because Bo Atkinson's been stepping up and playing well? Did we see a little bit more of a combination of Kenyatta Jackson and Bo Atkinson on the field together? Not something we've seen a lot of this year. So it does provide some interesting conversation heading into this game. A good atmosphere early here in Champaign. Fox and Barstool and everybody else outside trying to get the crowd going early, calling Ohio State overrated and talking crap about the Buckeyes. But that's what Barstool Sports
You won't
does.
Believe who said it.
That's what Barstool does, so it's fine. But yeah, this is going to be a good football game. This is going to be as Ryan Day would describe it, a 4-quarter football game, probably. And so now you add some extra elements to make that just a little bit more difficult for Ohio State.
Yeah, and also on that availability report as out, Bryson Rogers. So there are a few spots here where Ohio State is dealing with injuries and setbacks. Bryson did not play a week ago. We saw Mylan Graham getting involved. I think finished with 16 snaps in that game. I don't know that that's an absolute necessity on a team that has Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Max Clare, Brandon Ennis all ready to go, but it's something to keep an eye on, because it has felt like Ohio State is trying to expand and continue to give Julian Sayin more weapons.
And the question is, who's going to be the guy to step up? Obviously, we saw Mylan Graham get more reps last week, more snaps last week than he's gotten in his career in the space of Bryson Rogers, and so we'll see if that expands a little bit further today. But ultimately, the things Ohio State has to deal with today are the same they've had to deal with all week, and it's trying to make sure that they pressure Altmaier, it's trying to make sure that they tackle well, and trying to make sure that they don't allow Illinois to come out and get them off balance early like Washington did when the Buckeyes went on the road earlier this season. So that, to me, is key number 1. Absorb the first quarter push, absorb the first quarter rush from the crowd that's going to be into this game, and it's up to Ohio State to remove the crowd from this game early. So I'm fascinated to see how Julian Sayin and the offense come out, what the approach is, because in Washington, Ohio State drove right down the field on the first drive of the game, obviously got stopped inside of the 10, but if you do that today, this place will shut up pretty quickly, I think. But it's going to be interesting in the first quarter.
Well, there's also a lot of traveling Ohio State fans, as there always are, but given the ability to just drive over for 4 or 5 hours, we've seen plenty of that. There's definitely a lot of scarlet and gray in the tailgates out here. And I think when you're talking about dealing with some of the road elements, Ohio State fans can help mitigate that, but obviously the offense can do that as well by going out and sending a message early. And this is not the wind tunnel.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where there's any wood. I'll just knock up here. Like, it's a perfect morning for football. This is everything you could hope for in a Big Ten day. Like, there's not a cloud in the sky. The wind there's a little wind, just a slight touch of breeze, but the temperature is perfect. It's like, this is everything you want. So the conditions, I'm saying, are ideal for Julian Sayin. I don't think communication is going to be a problem. That continues to be the ongoing part of the development, is command in the huddle. There's been no signs whatsoever that Julian Sayin is struggling with that. Ryan Day told a story this week about how he's able to rattle off the play call to 20, 30 words, and that is his second language. So that part's all been good, and I wouldn't expect anything different today. This is not an Illinois secondary specifically that should pose any real challenge for Julian Sayin or Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate. They're giving up the more passing yards per game than any team in the Big Ten. That is not an ideal matchup for Illinois.
No, and again, when you look at the circumstances here, if you look at the environment, it eliminates a lot of the potential built-in excuses for road games, like you talked about, the communication, the weather, the travel, all that stuff. Like, none of that stuff. This is just two good football teams. They're going to have to go at it, and I think for Ohio State, it's about keeping Julian Sayin upright. Ohio State's pass protection has done a great job all season long. They've been one of the best units in the country protecting the quarterback. Illinois, like Ohio State, likes to mix things up, show a lot of different fronts, show a lot of different coverages. And Julian Sayin hasn't seen as much of that this year as the Ohio State opponents have, but I think the fact that he's worked against the Buckeyes defense every day in practice for the last 8 months probably makes it a little bit easier for him to handle. So I think it's really about the Ohio State coach's mindset today and how aggressive you want to be. And it's something I've said multiple times, and maybe people hate when I say it, but I think there are occasions when Ryan Day and this coaching staff pay a little bit too much deference to the Buckeyes opponent. I think when you
I don't think people hate that you say it. I think people hate that it's probably true.
Yeah, I think that there's times when you continue to tell yourself, like, this is going to be a 4-quarter game, this is going to be a 4-quarter game, that's fine, but then that helps the mindset. But if you are regularly saying it's not about the other team, it's only about us, then, like, do what you do and don't worry about what the other team is going to do in response. So Ryan Day and Brian Hartline and the Ohio State offense, I think, will have a good game plan. I think they learned a lot about themselves a week ago against Minnesota, going a little bit more up-tempo, getting themselves a bit more aggressive down the field and doing it early in the game as opposed to second half when they did it at Washington. This is not going to be that same type of environment as Washington. So come out and shut the crowd up early. Power running game. Make sure that you're hitting holes quickly. Don't dance in the backfield. Don't give the Illinois defense time to rally to the ball. Just be decisive, because if Ohio State's decisive with their athletes, with their scheme, they will win this game by the 2 touchdowns that Vegas thinks they will.
What do you expect to see on that first defensive snap in place of Lorenzo?
I think we have to lean towards what we've seen already, right? Which is, of course, Jermaine Matthews sliding inside and Davis Igbinosun and Devin Sanchez playing on the outside. That makes the most sense to me. Jermaine Matthews is certainly not like a lower level athlete than Lorenzo Styles, so it's a little different type of athlete. Maybe not quite the side to side, the shiftiness that Lorenzo has, but I think we will see a lot of Bryce West today. I think the question is, do we see any Malik Hartford because of the way that things have to flip around? So obviously the Buckeyes, I believe, will try not to have that happen, but when the bell rings, like, you have to put the guys out there that you have to put out there. So it'll be we're about an hour away from Ohio State arriving at the stadium as we record this. I'm fascinated to see the vibe check when they walk in the room.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying it's a top 10 matchup. It is officially a top 20 matchup. You have to come ready to play. Anytime you go on the road in the Big Ten, and you see this all every weekend, every Saturday, it's not lip service. It is difficult to win in this league. And Illinois was just on the outside of going to the playoff a year ago, and they want to ignore what happened against Indiana. Both Ohio State and Illinois want to throw that game out, and I understand why, but at its best, Illinois is a team that can definitely push Ohio State. As I said, I mentioned it to you earlier this week, I felt like the point spreads and the projection for the Washington game and the Illinois game were backwards. Yeah. I think that this is certainly a game that can get really competitive and feisty and be a 4-quarter battle. Now, I didn't pick that. I still think Ohio State's, as we say it's true, because there's not a team in the country that 1 through 85 can match up with what Ohio State has built here. But now you're removing a couple key pieces, and I think that goes back to spring, and I'm thinking about Jermaine Matthews playing inside. Aaron Scott got some opportunities. Devin Sanchez has certainly elevated, I think, on that cornerback depth chart. So we're going to have to, I think, see him a lot, maybe both of them.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bryce West. There was a guy that got a ton of conversation throughout the summer months and into training camp. So there are guys that are capable of stepping up, but that would be some first-timeness for some of those players.
First-timeness is real. What's not first-timeness is that Illinois has beaten a more talented team in this building. They did it 2 weeks ago when they knocked off USC here. So, for a team that could have had a real identity crisis and a real crisis of confidence after losing by 53 in Bloomington, like this Illinois team bounced back. That's what you expect. They're a veteran team. Brett Bielema is a veteran coach and a good coach. He's obviously a guy that people, Ohio State fans specifically, love to make fun of over the years. But Brett Bielema has proven stop after stop, minus Fayetteville, because nobody stops in Fayetteville and does anything successfully. So he's been a great coach in the Big Ten, like great. We were talking about this at dinner last night. Ohio State's lost 12 games ever as a number one team in the country. Brett Bielema's beaten them once, and Illinois' beaten them. So you've got a weird intersection of we can do this. There's not going to be a moment where Illinois or Brett Bielema thinks, well, we can't beat Ohio State, because they know they can beat Ohio State. They've done it. And so now it's a matter of making sure that Ohio State doesn't open that door for them, I think, because if you just look at the way the game scripts have gone, just all of a sudden you look up and 8 minutes are gone in the first quarter and you're like, wow, we haven't had the football yet. So it's really important for Ohio State, whoever's in that spot for Lorenzo Styles, that they walk into the rotation and things don't miss a beat. Yeah,
big opportunity for Tywan Malone as well. He's been starting there for a couple games at defensive tackle. It's going to be a different looking rotation without Edric Houston to offer some support there. So we'll see how the Buckeyes manage all that. Shortly, kickoff is coming up, big noon kickoff. It is on Fox. It is going to be 11 a.m. Central Time. Kickoff is fast approaching here at Memorial Stadium. The Illabuck is on the line. It is Ohio State and Illinois. These have been the pregame keys on 97.1 The Fan, 10 TV Plus, Apple, Spotify, Roku, wherever else you get podcasts. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you after the game with the notebook and snap judgments. He's Birm. I'm Austin. Enjoy the game.